Call in 865-200-5402. I'm sure there's plenty to talk about today. That's the TLD Logistics Hotline. We're live after every SEC series finale. Spread the word. Second time in the last 2 weeks. We've jumped on here after a disappointing Game 3 loss. This is live at tclub.team on X Spaces, Twitch, and YouTube. I'm Will Heflin, former Tennessee left-handed pitcher. Tony's got the YouTube fired back up. Focused and prepared. I gotta come up with my own deals. You've got a lot of good like little phrases you like to use.
How about this?
You got your radio cadence that our guy from the film guy was talking about.
How about this sucks?
One thing I've done each week is come up with a word of the week or a couple phrases to kind of sum up the weekend. I'm gonna be real honest with y'all. I'm not really in the mood to talk. So we're gonna take a lot of calls, which is good. I want to hear from you guys. 865-200-5402. That one hurts. That one hurts. That one really hurts. We've got a really good baseball team that is not what I felt was going to happen going into the rubber match. To lose 12-2 in that way. Tennessee threw the first punch. If you missed the game, scored 2 in the first inning on like 4 hits, and I think every ball that inning was barreled. One of the outs was an Inslee sac fly. That was probably the hardest hit ball of the inning, just line drive. And then from then on, it was all LSU. Curiel, the best freshman in the country, had a huge day, 4 for 4. They worked a lot of walks. They hit homers. Michael Braswell hit his second homer in as many days. Came into the series with a big fat 0 on the year and hit more than Tennessee did this weekend. He hit 2, Tennessee hit 1. That was Cannon Peebles in the win, hit a big 3-run homer. That was a really, really, really good win. Really good win yesterday after just an absolute gut-wrenching loss on Friday. I don't think anything more needs to be said about that until we dig in. But you lose a game like that, gut-wrenching style, to bounce back the way they did showed a lot, which kind of made me think today we were just going to go out there and steamroll them. But that's why you go out there and play the game. That's not what happened. Looks like Matt Dixon's going to jump on with us. 865-200-5402 TLD Logistics Hotline. Lines are jammed, but feel free to call us. I'm going to take a call. I'm going to let you guys steer this ship because, as I mentioned, it's tough for me to talk after that one. But anyways, we'll get into it. This is Extra Innings. You're on the air.
Hey, Will, thanks for coming in. A tough couple of weekends, but I do appreciate you coming on and letting us talk about it. But, it's Friday is what it is. It sucks. They always say that games don't always come down to 1 or 2 plays or a big call here, but in fact, that game did come down to what it was, and that's a shame. I feel for the kid. But my question to you is, and I've wanted to ask this to somebody for a while, and I fear that I may come off as a jerk, and that's not what I mean. This. In college baseball, we play weekend conference games, especially in SEC, highly competitive. And we play midweek games that are less so. They're meant for what they are, to develop pitchers, develop batters, give young guys a chance. The question to you is, when you have Coach Vitella who gives guys chances on the midweek games, hoping to develop them, hoping to give them a chance, all those kids want to be able to play on an SEC weekend. And he has. He really has. I'm not calling anybody's name, but a couple today, and they just don't deliver. And he's got to make another, come out there and got to make another call and change another pitcher. Again, I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but what do you do? How does that work for a head coach, or you're on the team and you want everybody to succeed, but are some guys just midweek guys, and it is what it is, or do you keep bringing those guys out, keep working on them, hopefully something clicks, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think the entire season is a constant battle on the totem pole internally. And there's a lot of value in those midweek games for finding out kind of what you have in terms of depth. But the guys that were out there today have been really good in midweeks, and some of them have even made appearances on the weekend. I mean, nobody really had it today. I mean, once Russell came out, it was like I actually agreed with the pitching moves that Tony made. He brought in Sharman to face a lefty, and that didn't work. So then he goes to Coons, that was the plan from the get-go, is to bridge to Coons and give him an opportunity to get you out of the inning, and he didn't have any success either. And then Arvidsson comes in an inning or two later and gives you an unbelievable effort to get out of that inning. It was either bases loaded. I think it was second and third with nobody out, and he didn't allow a run. Kept it at 6-2. And then the next inning, he walks the first two, so you got to get him out. And they just couldn't get anybody to take over the reins to steady the tide to give Tennessee a chance to get back into the game. But to answer your question, and there's a lot of value in those midweeks, but think about Xander Sechrist, Sean Hunley, outside of your Chase Burnses, who just come in and they're top guys immediately. A lot of freshmen develop in those midweeks, and eventually you got to make that transition, and it's not easy. I remember, I threw in a lot of midweeks over my career, and there's a huge difference in those from SEC, but you've got to have depth, and so we'll continue to see them keep tweaking it there.
Do we know what's going on with Krenzel? Is he injured? I heard an illness?
Yeah, he was sick. He was sick, and I think it was mono. The only thing that's the only thing I can think of. I mean, why would you, little flu or something? Matt Dixon's with us. Let me bring him in here. Matt, can you hear us?
I'm here.
Do you know if Krenzel has mono?
I do not, but that would be my first guess, because this is a 2-week deal now. So I would think that it's got to be something like that.
Yeah, there's no more 5-day quarantine from COVID. So for him to be out for 2 weeks, it's got to be something that's beating him up pretty good.
Well, guys, it's tough couple of weeks, tough streak here, but there's still some positive. Peoples is waking up.
Man, he is.
We don't like the way it worked, but golly, you can't ask for more than Doyle and Phillips gave you as starting pitchers. So let's regroup. We got 3 more series. Let's go out and do that and head for the postseason. Go get them. Go Vols.
I think that's a great plan. Thanks so much for the call. Matt, it's all right there in front of you. He kind of laid it out. Like, you can see exactly how it should go to be successful. And I think they're closer than it feels right now as we sit after a 12-2 run roll. What do you think?
Yeah, actually, really before today's game, I had encouraged for those first 2 games, even though obviously game 1 was just an absolute gut punch that really hasn't happened to Vitello's teams often. You might can think of a game or two where you just totally dominated and just gave it away in the 9th inning. But that usually Tennessee's the one that's done that to other teams. But I thought the response yesterday was really, really impressive. They had great at-bats, just very few just kind of unproductive outs. Worked the pitch count up and got their starter out fairly early. And then Marcus Phillips was so much better than what his final line was. I thought that was really impressive to win that game and bounce back after that game. Could have easily laid down and just gotten swept this weekend, but they came back and played really well and really they let it. Final score got away from LSU late, but Tennessee really should have won that game about like today's game. And obviously you can't gave away the game one, and you can't get that back. But that's really what that game cost you the series. You really should have won the first two, and then that would have made today a lot easier. Where your pitching plan just didn't work. And Russell wasn't sharp and didn't give you. I mean, he was probably at max 3 innings anyway, but just nothing kind of worked for you today. But I'm kind of encouraged. There's some things that are positive. So. You got to go 5-4 over these last 9 SEC games should get you in prime position to host a regional potential super. So that's what's in front of you. I mean, every home team won the SEC series this weekend, so it's not like we should be really upset Tennessee didn't win the series, even though they did give away the one game, which really really sucked at like 2 a.m.
Yeah, looked like far and away the better team for 17 and a half innings. The first 17 and a half innings anyways. Give us a call. It's 865-200-5402 TLD Logistics Hotline. Matt, I think you subbed it up pretty well right there, brother. Let's bring somebody in. Extra innings, Garza Law, you were on the air. I got you on mute. Can you hear us?
Hey, guys, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, I think this team's probably ceiling is getting to a super. Their fundamentals are lacking, and their defense is just not good. I mean, you're playing Bargo out in the outfield. I mean, he's probably better suited for third base if anywhere. They don't have. I mean, they're just bouncing people around in the field, and the defense is just a major, major red flag on this team. The first 2 pitching performances were great, but then we weren't able to turn it over anybody in the bullpen. The bullpen is just, I don't know, maybe missing that one guy is hurting them. I don't know, but if they get to the super regional, I think that'll be a really successful season. This team getting much further than that. Get out of super. I think their defense is just what it is, and they're young, and they were so good last year, and they lost so much off that last year's team. That's about all I got. Y'all have a great day.
Thanks, Dave. Matt, was that the infamous negative?
It was. He's probably been on hold since the 3rd inning.
I'm learning. Hey, we got a couple lines open. Give us a shout. We want to hear from you. That he could be right, but a super regional is something we take for granted around here, which I think is pretty cool. Tony Vitello's been to Omaha 3 out of the last 4 years, so I don't know that putting a ceiling on any of his teams, because this, you could argue last year's team was better. I think this team, top to bottom, has more talent, but maybe not the alpha that Semo was and Blake Burke were at the top of the order. And there's still time for that to develop and somebody to take that over. But you just felt like those two were gonna will you over the line at some point. But I mean that 23 team made it to Omaha, and I don't know that there's been a more frustrating team to be around under Vitello, because that team was freakishly talented, and they were just straight up bad for the first however many weeks, Matt. But let's bring somebody in. I want to see if we can get some juices flowing. Garza Law, Extra Innings, you're on the air.
Hey, this is JT from Murfreesboro. Will.
JT, thanks for the
call.
call.
Can you hear me good?
Say that again.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
All right, Will, let's talk pitching. Let's talk pitching here for a second.
Okay.
2 things. Of course, AJ, we know he's not in shape. To me, I'm an old pitcher and a pitching coach. He's dropping his elbow. Ball's going up. He's not getting on top of the ball. That's 1. 2, we bring in a left-hander to face a left-handed batter. He throws no off-speed pitches. Those 2 fastballs, the guy cranks a line drive down left field. Why aren't we throwing curveballs to the left-handed?
Was the first one a fastball? I know the one he hit was.
If it wasn't, yeah, it looked like it. It wasn't curveball. I'll put it that way. Might have been a changeup.
Or a little slider cutter deal, maybe.
And then it seems like to me LSU was doing a much better job throwing off-speed pitches when we were. You agree with that? They were keeping us off balance with off-speed stuff.
I know we got after Evans in that first inning.
We did.
But that dude is elite.
Well, his changeup's bad news.
His changeup
change
is disgusting, and you can see why he came in with a 0.89 ERA, and he's been out of the pen for them, but he's been their guy, like go-to guy. If they have a lead late, they've won. The issue for LSU is kind of like the first two games this weekend. They just haven't really hit. They've struggled offensively, which is why they tried to bunt a lot more than I've ever remembered an LSU team trying to bunt.
Yeah.
What
do you think? What do you think our issue is? Number one, we're not getting timely hits. That's true. Number two, but our pitching, we're just giving up too many big hits. I mean, when they hit that 3-run homer and went up 5-2, that was a meatball. He threw that right down the middle.
Yeah, it's been either out of the zone or middle, which is not a good recipe.
Yeah.
Too many walks today. But
we just not have control over off-speed pitches. Is that our problem, you think?
Well, it depends on the guy. I mean,
yeah,
depends on who you're talking about. Like, for Phillips, I know he's a starter, but it's really that simple. When he lands the breaking ball, you've got no chance. But the only times he's struggled more has been, if he's not able to flip that slider in. But, yeah, I mean, to answer your question, you ask us what the problem is. I mean, there's a lot of things they can get better at, which is good and bad. It feels bad right now, but one thing's for sure, they haven't peaked in April.
That's
so,
for sure.
We gave the game away Friday night.
Gave it away.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's
gift on Friday night.
That's a gut punch, but you flush it, and they did.
You got to move on. I mean, we got 2 games left. I mean, they're not playing close to their potential. You agree with that?
Not yet. Which is why I feel like the ceiling for this team hasn't changed at all, because they're getting to rubber matches against all the best teams in the league, and they just feel like they're fighting themselves more than the other team right now. Which,
yeah,
shoot, Tennessee's best when they're fighting the other team.
Yeah,
I mean, look at Ariel
yet.
yesterday, getting into it with Bear Jones, and there was some stuff that went on social media along with that was kind of funny. If you know, you know.
Yeah, I know.
But Ariel was he was ready to compete, and Tennessee is better when they're like that. You don't want to see them not punch back when the other team throws a punch. Like, I don't think anybody should be super surprised that on a Sunday Game 3 rubber match that LSU makes a big swing there to take the lead. But we've gotten so used to Tennessee answering right back, or holding them right there,
true.
and then taking the lead at some point. And so until it doesn't happen, for me anyway, I feel like it is, and it just hasn't happened the last few rubber matches. Now, Ole Miss it did, but they're kind of fighting themselves right now, which is a good and bad thing, because I don't think we've played anybody where we're like, yeah, that team's just way better than us.
I agree. I think we can compete with them. I'm a little disappointed with our pitching right now. I just don't think we're on top of our pitching game. I thought Marcus had his best outing yesterday. Of course, we get good outings on Friday night, but Sunday we're struggling on Sunday.
Yeah, I for one thought AJ looked fine. I mean, he gave you 37 pitches, which I think
he was okay.
on.
Yeah.
And
what did he throw, about 50 pitches, 60?
37. So I think next week you
Yeah.
may see, 40 to 45 if he feels good and recovers well. And, I mean, his stuff was good.
Yeah.
You said you
yeah,
thought he was.
I'm not down on him. I just don't think we're playing. We don't have that fire in the belly like we've had before. Like you said, a little chip on our shoulder where we go after him.
No, but you know what we've watched the last, the majority of the last 4 years is just un. It's
unrealistic, really.
it's not reasonable. The best programs in the country that are in the hunt every single year are doing exactly what Tennessee's doing. Matt,
That's true.
what's the latest around the league?
Well, I know Arkansas's lost 3 straight series as well, and I think they had swept 3 of their first 4. So they're kind of going through. And I mean, that's what this league is outside of Texas, who's finding ways to win a bunch of close games, which is crazy. Your teams are just beating up on each other. I mean, LSU got swept at Auburn, I think, 2 weekends ago. So the league's just so balanced, and every team has talent outside of Missouri that it's just you got to survive it. And that's Tennessee had the real luxury of, I think, after the Friday night versus A&M, they were 9-1 in the league, so they can afford to go through these struggles right now. And if you learn from it and get better from it, in the end, it's really not going to affect whether you host or not. So the league's just so tough, and every game can be such a grind.
Yeah, it feels more balanced this year than ever. And I know Texas is 18-2. They're in another tie game late with A&M, but they've won a ton of one-run games, and everybody just kind of seems to be. It's like it's definitely the most balanced it's been. I don't really know if it's going to be the best team. When we get to the end of this deal, it'll be the hottest, which is all you can ask for if you're Tennessee fans or anybody else, really. I mean, shoot, Florida, speaking of Arkansas, won that series. I mean, are they going to do that again, Matt? Hey, thanks for the call, by the way. I appreciate that, man. We'll get a break here in a second, but this is Extra Innings Garza Law. Matt, what like, are we on the same page here?
Oh, I mean, I still think Tennessee's ceiling is getting Omaha. I mean, absolutely. I just,
I meant Florida.
The infield defense stuff, I think, is slowly becoming like just a major concern. Obviously, the stuff with Curley, it's just so much in his head right now. I don't know what the right answer there is. I guess if Antigua swings the bat like he did this weekend, and he's not just an automatic out, I think you almost have to go with him at short, even though he probably boots a few too many. I just think you got to figure out what you're going to do on Sunday in those game 3s. Obviously, Russell being that guy would help, but can we really expect him to become a guy you can rely on for 5 innings? I don't know. Hopefully, but you've got a little bit of time to figure this stuff out. But I just don't know what all changes you can really make, because I'm not sure this team's as deep as we probably thought it was earlier in the year. Levi Clark probably needs more at bats, but I mean, there's plenty of, they have more than enough talent to challenge again in Omaha.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I was kind of talking about Florida too, like.
Oh,
those
yeah.
jokers will probably be back
they have
in
a lot
Omaha.
of injuries. They could.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have enough offense with some of their injuries, but
they got Sully. They'll be fine. We're gonna take a quick break. Be right back on Garza Law Extra Innings.
Get you back to the action here momentarily. It's Garza Law Extra Innings, presented by Marcos Garza and your Garza Law firm. Online at garzalaw.com. Marcos and his team are your go-to law firm for a myriad of disciplines. When it comes to DUI defense, criminal defense, personal injury, Social Security, or disability, you want to deal with folks that are of, by, and for our community. People that you will see in Lindsey Nelson Stadium when the Vols are playing baseball the rest of the spring and into the summer. Treating clients like family. Don't you dare trust anybody else. Available 24/7 at GarzaLaw.com. Also presented by our friends at VIP Play. Now, will tell you more in coming shows about VIP Play, but rest assured, big changes are coming in the gambling space. VIP Play will be here. The Eagle will land shortly. Must be 21 and over in the state of Tennessee to place a bet, and you will check out more there. Also, a special shout out today to our friends at Rather and Kittrell. RKCapital.com. Start planning your future today at RKCapital.com. Personalized financial planning, disciplined investment strategy, ongoing guidance and partnership. RK Capital can help you in so many ways. And we're also presented by our friends at Calhoun's. Calhoun's, your taste of Tennessee. Leave the cooking to us all baseball season long. When you're getting together for your Tennessee watch parties, Calhoun's is a wonderful thing. When you want to grab something to or from the ballpark, it's always fresh. It's always going to be wonderful. It's available for pickup near you. And remember, Friday home games mean we're live, and we'll be with us some down at Calhoun's on the river. It's phenomenal. Like Hunter Ensley says, Calhoun's, we're champions feast. Or does he say we're champs feast? At any rate, it's the taste of Tennessee. Now let's get back to more on our TLD Logistics phone line, online at tldlogistics.com, and we'll get you back to our host with the most, the superstar on Garza Law.
Garza Law, extra innings. Will Heflin back with you. Apparently I'm the host with the most. I don't really know what I've got the most of, but I've got the most. Was that funny, Tony? He's in an Eagles shirt today. Don't know how I feel about that, but Matt, let's go back to the phones. Extra innings, you're on the air.
Hey, Will, it's David Ackworth. How you doing today?
I'm good, Mr. Ackworth. How are you?
Doing well. Hey, I'm going to preface this by saying I am one of the late comers to the college baseball world, thanks to Tony Basilio there, not Tony Vitello. Of course, Tony Basilio introduced us to Tony Vitello, so that's how I got to fall on this train. So I'm going to be somewhat of a casual observer and preface this with a kid that's pretty young, or younger than we have been. But I see two big things here, and I thought Saturday night showed this to me really in full color. This team doesn't have much of a fire. It doesn't have any fire considering what we saw the previous 4 years. I just don't see it. And I thought there was a perfect opportunity for that Saturday night to see that fire that we would have seen if this was the 24 or the 23 or the 22 team or the 21 team for that matter. You get punked on Friday night. Their guy that hits the walk-off comes up in front of your bench and, starts celebrating. And I know it wasn't, it broke up pretty quickly. No harm, no foul. That's fine. Get it. Saturday night, the only guy that seemed to have any fire in his belly was Antigua. Gets on first base, runs his mouth with the first baseman. Love it. Good to see. Comes around after not once, but twice. And this team seems to kind of roll over and go, well, whatever. And then you win the game Saturday night, and I'm going, okay, here comes the fireworks. Yeah. This is where the team's going to come out, celebrate. It looked like a midweek win. As a matter of fact, they celebrated more Tuesday night against Lipscomb after they won that game than they did Saturday night. And then turn around today and, no fire at all, obviously. And that's okay. No big deal. But this is just an observation. I don't know if what I'm seeing is real. Is it just part of baseball? And I know it's a crazy sport, and I don't live and die by every pitch anymore like I used to. I've learned to deal with these. losses I have, which I didn't earlier. I mean, a couple of years ago, the next effort, and now I'm like, that's okay. But that's what I'm seeing this year. I really like your opinion on what you see, and if you see the same thing or something similar, or am I just making something that really doesn't? It's not a function of this baseball team, and I can't really fairly compare it to previous teams because the other thing I don't see is strictly run. That does work in me though. So what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, that's a lot to digest. First thing I want to say is thank you for watching. I don't care if you've been watching since 1980 and haven't missed a single game, or if today was the first game you ever watched as a Tennessee baseball fan. Um, it's grown a lot over the last few years, and I know that everybody who's still inside that program greatly, greatly appreciates everyone who roots for them. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, you said you don't live and die by each pitch. I think that'll help your lifespan and your fandom, kind of keep your sanity a little bit there, because baseball is quite the roller coaster, and this year is the perfect example of that. But
I agree.
here's my deal when we're talking about the fire, because I've noticed that as well, and that's been a frustrating part. But what was kind of the summation after 2022 ended? That it was too fiery, that it was too emotional, and they ran into somebody who was steady and played, a different style of game, and Tennessee just needed somebody who was, going to fight with them more, right? And so the I was on here, I wasn't on here, but I was talking early on in the year that like, man, this team seems really businesslike, and they're just very steady, and I like that about them. It's a little bit different, right? And I think that can still be true, but when it's the heat of the deal in the SEC, you just got to have a little bit of fight. And I think they do have it. Obviously, when you hit home runs and strike people out, it's easy to say, "Oh yeah, they're fighting." But Doyle has been that on Friday, which is why Tennessee's been in a lot of really good situations. But I'm almost asking for somebody in the lineup to be, and you don't have to be Christian Moore. I mean, that was a literal all-time season. We can't just sit here and say we need a Christian Moore. I don't know that that's reasonable to anybody, even with the first-round talents that you have in the lineup. But you do need somebody. You do need somebody who it's like. You do need somebody who feels like a spark plug, right? And I think we have guys that if they get up in certain situations, we feel good about it. But it's like, man, when you need to punch back, who's that first guy you want up? Who's going to hit a double to get the thing going? Who's going to work a 10-pitch walk? And that's kind of what we've lacked a little bit when we haven't been able to punch back after we've taken some punches. Because, look, we can sit here and talk about the pitching all day. I don't care who you have. Tennessee's had the best pitching staff collectively over the last 5 years, and nobody in the country's been even close. And they've taken a lot of licks in this league because there's good hitters everywhere. So you're going to take punches. You're going to take punches.
Absolutely.
But I think we need I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if fight is the word I want to use. What do you think about spark plug? We need a spark plug?
Well, I guess what I'm looking at, I would agree, and maybe Antigua provided a little bit of that Saturday night, which I loved.
Boy, he gained a lot of respect from a lot of people, didn't he?
He did, but at the same time, I lost respect for the rest of the players. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, what, and I know I'm not comparing Christian Moore on the field or Blake Burke on the field. I'm comparing them off the field and what they would have done in that situation. Can you imagine if that would have been Christian Moore that hit the 3-run homer Saturday night? What would that run around the bases look like? That might have turned into a brawl because he's talking to that dugout at LSU. And I don't even think I still can't believe people got hit twice last Saturday night, and there was nothing. And unfortunately, I didn't get to watch it. I was following the score, and I was following some stuff on social media. But did Tony come out and argue that second hit by pitch? Did he say anything about it? Because didn't that pitcher get a warning, or did they get a warning after he got hit the first time?
They did, but here's the deal with the guys they were throwing last night. I mean, every guy they rolled out of the pen was like 6'8", a freshman, threw the ever-living piss out of the baseball and had no clue where it was going. I mean, we had bases loaded 3 innings in a row, all on free passes. So I'm not disagreeing with you at all. It's just hard in that situation to evaluate any sort of intent. You know what I mean? Like in the big leagues, you know, they don't hit guys. But, certainly the first one that grazed him, no. The second one, I really doubt it. I really, really doubt it. But I'm not saying, it wasn't. Let me ask you this, and then I'll let you run. The home run that Jared Jones hit on Friday, I wouldn't have cared if he stood there and looked at it for 5 minutes. He hit one a mile. And,
totally agree.
He could have taken 10 minutes to jog the bases. That's fine.
Yeah.
Tennessee would have done the same thing. Drew Gilbert would have taken an hour to get around the bases.
Absolutely.
And I'm for that. You get us, do it. But when you cross home plate and the group, the LSU team, turns their attention to the Tennessee dugout and it's not a celebration with themselves anymore, and now it's at you, that's when that's a no-no, right? And for Tennessee to respond the way they did on the field, good. You went and won the game. But I'm kind of with you. I don't know if it was necessarily because they were getting in the fight, or just rather, Phillips pitched good and they had a couple good swings. Because the way today went, a couple years ago, especially early with A.J. Russell on the mound, and he's getting squeezed. I mean, he had to throw that thing in a teacup, and his pitch count's an issue. I was texting some people saying there is zero chance Tony or Frank sees the end of this game if the strike zone stays the same. And we praise them for being more under control this year, but then when Tennessee loses the way it did, we're almost asking for more. Like, give us the old staff, Give us the fire. So I think there's a balance, with that deal all over the place. But, man, I really do appreciate your call. Some really good points there. Matt, you said it, man. We need an alpha. Who is that guy for you?
I think the problem is I think it's got to be one of the transfers. You mentioned Doyle, and I think he is. I think Fisher's kind of got that. And then when Keelan hit that home run in game 1 at Ole Miss into their student section, he was doing like the fake beer shower to him when he was rounding first. That showed me a little fight from him that I didn't think was theirs. I think it's got to be your transfer guys, which is kind of maybe been the problem because those guys can't just automatically come in and be, your team leaders and kind of the heartbeat of your team. Because Inslee, I think is a little kind of laid back, the business-like approach, like you said. Curley's kind of that way too. Plus, when you're struggling like Curley is, you can't really be a leader, that leader type on the field. So I think Fisher and Keelan kind of need to be that. And then again, and Antigua being out there, I think gives you some of that, which is good, and probably why he needs to stay at short. So
yeah,
I was
kind
of surprised that Jared Jones didn't wear a fastball today because I think hitting Antigua twice, the first one I'll give, but I think that second one was intentional. And I just think in a game that kind of was already out of hand, you should have maybe stood up for your guy a little bit there. But, I mean, I'm not going to hold it against them because there's no retaliation in baseball anymore, which is why I thought it was really odd he got hit twice last night. That was a little much.
Well, I don't want to get too deep into that, but baseball is the only sport with no actual tangible on-field punishment for, things that you do outside the rules, and there's all the rules are kind of unwritten. Um, but in football, unsportsmanlike is 15 yards. Technical foul in basketball is 2 shots for the other team. What's a foul in baseball? You get a dugout warning. So it's always kind of policed itself, and if that's the way Tennessee felt, then they didn't decide to police it. Right? Is that a weird way to put it?
No, I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. It was weird because throughout the weekend, it seemed like whoever was on first, and even Ross Kivett, they would have some conversations with Jared Jones when they were at first, and they seemed to be kind of joking around and kind of just fun stuff. They were all laughing. So it was really weird that it was him and Antigua that kind of had the issue. I thought that was just a great visual too. That was a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring up Kivett because he was there in my tenure, and that man has simmered down quite substantially. But he's an Ohio kid, played hockey, played at Kansas State, which is a blue collar program, and he has never been one to back down from a fight. But that reminds me of Tony's in-game interview yesterday. The way the game played out the night before, and he's, answering questions the way he always does. He's kind of a savvy in-game interviewer. He, throws a little humor in there, whatnot. And Tennessee gets first and third, and they let him go. And they're, it was Todd Walker and who was it, Dave Neal on the call today. And they're like, hey, we'll let you go do your thing. And he's like, oh, I'm just going to stay out of the way today. And like that, it just seemed so under control. And, here we are like, cannot believe what happened the night before. And he and the staff just seem more calm and collected than ever before in their tenure. And I think that's a true, because that's not how they are. I think they're just over, how do I want to say this? They're being intentional with the way they're conducting themselves to try to match the personalities of their team in a way that gives them the best chance to succeed. And if they get to postseason and catch fire and everybody said, man, this team is just rolling through everybody and it's just pure business, then we'll be like, man, those dudes are absolute wizards. But when you see a game like today, it's like, man, I kind of wish Frank or Tony or somebody would have got ran. We don't really need them in that midweek on Tuesday. It's kind of fun to see those guys get thrown out every now and then. I don't mean that entirely, but kind of. Garza Law, this extra innings, you're on the air.
Hey, Will, thanks for doing the show today. I guess I'm just kind of calling in maybe to kind of calm everybody down. I'm kind of more of a performance-based guy over results, and I look at this weekend, and they blew us out today. We blew them out yesterday, and you're a couple errors on Friday from taking that and taking the series. And I'm just not sure. I'm not sure how replicable that Friday result is, because I'm not sure Curley's going to get the chance to blow a game like that again. I think he'll eventually get back into the field because Tony's a player's guy and he's going to not tank the guy's draft stock. But I think we might end up seeing kind of like what we did last year with Amick, where if it's close late, you take him out, and last year was insert Antigua at short. But I think this team's still really talented, and I mean that's Russell's first SEC start. He's only going to get better, and I do think getting Braden Krenzel back is going to be big. I don't know if you guys ever found out exactly what he's out for, but I think we got to calm down. I mean, Matt tweeted it. We go 5-4 down the stretch here in these last 3 games or 3 series. We're going to get to the 18 win mark and potentially host a Super.
You played baseball, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I can tell. It's Sunday and you were preaching. Tell me your name again, man. I'm sorry.
Andrew from Maryville.
From Maryville.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Now, I will say it's a results-based league.
Yep.
You cannot change the 1 and 2 that's on the record this weekend. However, Tennessee was far and away the better baseball team for the majority of the series. So could have very easily been 2-1 Tennessee, and we were on here kumbaya. But that's not the way it played out, and we gotta live with it and move forward. Let me ask you this, Andrew. What do you like most about this team? Why are you like? What do you see that makes you confident outside
I
of
think
outside of the sheer talent on the pitch? Like, they get hit around every now and then if they're not sharp, but you're talking about Doyle, Phillips, Franklin, Sneed, Loy. That's probably your top five, and then shoot, Arvidsson has big time stuff. I mean, it's a top five staff in the country. I don't think anybody's arguing that.
Yeah. Well, I think last year was the first time we really got to see it in Omaha because we were there for a while. But I think if we can make it there, I like the fact that in Omaha you get every other day instead of every day, and you can kind of find your 2 or 3 really good relievers like last year with Snead, Combs, and Kirby, and really ride those guys. I think the longer we get in the bullpen, it's nice to have that depth, but I think we need more repetition with the certain few guys. I think we're still struggling from the fact that we've had to really shuffle the lineup, and we don't have a set infield like last year where, for 60 games, it was the same guys. So I think we got to really find our set, kind of 10 or 11 guys rotating the field, and then really find that top of the bullpen and ride with that. And I think we'll start, once we get that consistency, I think we'll start to settle down a little bit because that Keelan injury threw kind of a wrench in everything.
Yeah, golly, Andrew from Maryville. You should call him more often. Does he call you, Tony? You ever talk to Andrew? Look, here's the deal about the 60-win 2024 team. They were unbelievably healthy outside of A.J. Russell.
Yep.
Extremely fortunate in the health department. And I wouldn't say Tennessee's been bit by the injury bug this year, but the couple things that have happened have really thrown a wrench in things, it seems. But, Texas is in a similar boat. They lost they got hit harder. They lost their Friday guy for the year this week. Max Ballou, who's like their heart and soul of the team. Looks like he's probably going to be back maybe for Hoover, but he's been out, got hit in the hand. And so baseball's kind of, it's just so much about peaking at the right time. And you're right, the performance, if it happens enough, eventually the results got to match it, right? I know it's a weird game, but you play as the better team long enough, you'll win eventually. And this team's not going to win 60 games, but you don't have to. Rarely does the national champion look up at the end of the deal and have 60 wins. Which is what we all want to do, right? Win the national championship. I think we may have lost Andrew, but
no, sorry, I'm still here.
Oh, you're good.
That's all I had though. Thanks again for doing the show.
Yeah, man, appreciate you. I'll talk to you again next week, hopefully. That was a good call, Matt. Jeez. Garza Law, extra innings. You were on the air.
What's going on, Will? It's great. How are you?
What's up? How are you?
Hey, man, I'm good. Well, I actually want to continue this let's calm down mentality. I think the last caller did a good job of pointing out that Tennessee pretty much dominated the first 8.5 innings Friday night. They dominated last night when it mattered in the later innings, and they lost today. And that's that's how a lot of baseball series go. Yeah, we'd like to have that bottom of the ninth back from Friday, but didn't go our way. This stuff happens in baseball all the time. It's a long season. You played the game. You played for Vitello. You know how it is. I think it's kind of interesting that some of these people, they're almost like flannel shirt collars. They just get on here and, I was out there milking those cows. I didn't really see the whole game, but, we just don't see the fire. I just don't see it. It's like, what kind of fire are they looking for? Every team is different year to year. Every team has different characteristics. We went out there and kicked their tail last night. Antigua was definitely, getting in people's faces, wasn't backing down. And you got to manage this stuff through the postseason. The postseason is a series of 3-game series. with about a week in between. When you're talking about the SEC tournament and then, the postseason series and then even going to Omaha.
Yes.
You got to manage this stuff. You can't just have everybody ready to throw down and have a gang fight every night. I just don't understand where this mentality comes from baseball that we always got to be looking for some kind of physical altercation. Just win the games. And you asked a previous caller, what do you have to be excited about going into the postseason? Well, you got Liam Doyle. That's something to be excited about. And, you might have enough starting pitching to have a chance to win every series you play.
Yep.
And I'll mention a guy. I want to get your thoughts now, and I'll let you come up from there. I think Inslee still has a chance to be the alpha. And if you look at what he did in the Texas A&M series last year, there's still a lot of games to be played. They got 12 games left in the year this year. They're probably going to win 8 or 10 of them. So you're probably going to finish with 48 wins, somewhere in that neighborhood. You got as good a chance as anybody going into Omaha. What are your thoughts, Will?
I don't think you're wrong at all with Inslee being the alpha, but he's not the in-your-face, rah-rah guy. He's very Inslee. He's kind of a laid-back, low heartbeat guy, which you need those as well. But I think what Tennessee baseball has kind of been known for these last couple of years is at least one or two guys that if they get you, they're going to let you know about it.
Yeah.
And that wasn't me, but gosh, I sure love Drew Gilbert. So I tell you, you and Andrew, I got on here in a pretty bad mood, but you guys have made me feel better. Which is kind of the interesting part about doing this deal right after, is the longer you sit here, the easier it is to zoom out. And I feel like, you guys have certainly been able to zoom out and sound like you know the game too, which makes it a little easier to put things in perspective. But shoot, like I said, if somebody got on and it was their first time ever watching Tennessee baseball, then that's what they have. That's what they have to see. And good, bad, or in between, baseball is a dang roller coaster, and there's going to be good and bad. So I'm just glad that we have a competitive team to root for each and every weekend, and hopefully, if they play better than the other team for at least 2 games next weekend, that they'll win at least 2 of them, because Auburn is a very tough opponent. They took the series in a rubber today against Mississippi State.
Do you not agree though that we have tough opponents out there, but we're competing not just with mediocrity, we're competing with the top college programs in the country.
Yeah.
LSU.
Shoot,
yeah,
we
right?
won't have a week in the postseason tougher than this weekend.
Yeah.
Unless we, play bad the next 3 weeks and end up having to go on the road for postseason. But who did we beat last year to get to Omaha?
Evansville.
Evansville. That was a fun group, and I have the utmost respect in the world. But if you give me 2 choices, hey, Will Heflin, you've got to beat Evansville in Lindsey Nelson Stadium, or you've got to beat the LSU Tigers in Baton Rouge to go to Omaha, I think I'm going to choose Evansville every single time and twice on Sunday. So, that's a good way to think about it. But a regional is a series too. You're just playing a different team every day. Like you win Friday, Saturday, and you're playing, Sunday, and it's a different team. But it's a 3-day series, if you will. And then Hoover's got a different format. It used to be Hoover was could be a long week, but now everybody's going to go. So even Missouri will be in Hoover this year, and it's first 4 get 2 byes. The next, I believe, 3 or 4 get 1 bye, and then the bottom few play, and it's just single elimination all the way through. And I think the complaint was, it can be too much on teams, and you want to win Hoover, but the focus is ultimately on the postseason after that, getting to Omaha, which is ultimately how team seasons get judged. But man, I really appreciate the call. Going to take another quick break. We'll be back. Garza Law Extra Innings. TLD Logistics Hotline, 865-200-5402. Be right back. When we get back, Matt, we'll take a couple more calls, and then we'll wrap up the LSU series. But then in the final segment, we'll touch on Auburn. I touched on them a little bit, but we'll kind of dig into what Tennessee needs to do moving forward to we'll see how things are going to shake out.
We appreciate you listening to Garza Law Extra Innings, presented by Marcos Garza, your Garza Law Firm. We'll get you back to the action here momentarily. Portions today, presented by our friends at TLD Logistics. Online at tldlogistics.com. So much more than a trucking company. First of all, tremendous supporters of your Tennessee baseball Vols. You will see Jim Peters. You will see Kevin Herman. You will see those folks at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, rain, sleet, or snow. But the important thing is TLD Logistics does everything. Whatever your challenges are relating to shipping, you reach out to them. They're going to take care of you. They even helped out the recent Super Bowl, trucking something across the country to them. They can do it for you. And if you are wanting to become an owner-operator, do we ever have an opportunity for you? Check out tldlogistics.com for more information. Also presented by our friends at Simpson's Meats. Simpson's Meats raises and sources their meat on farms, on pasture, on purpose, comfortably continuing a tradition that began in 1888 on Jim Simpson's farm. I'm talking about a beef brand built on quality. I'm talking about, you're going to pay a little more, but you're going to get what you pay for and then some. Steaks, burgers, sausages, roast, chicken. They also have a variety of local offerings at their butcher shop, from milk to honey to jams to eggs. You name it, they've got it. Stop by and taste the best from the Tennessee community. And if you want to buy in bulk, they sell half and quarter cows as well. Steaks make a great gift. Gift boxes available. Ship premium meats anywhere in the world at simpsonsmeats.com. Visit their store in West Knoxville off Level Road and shop there today. Also presented by our friends at Connexial, Knoxville's own transportation and logistics tech company, proud sponsor of the My 20 Drive of the Game, right here on Garza Law Extra Innings, revolutionizing your trucking industry nationwide. We want your fleet to be more efficient, our drivers and roads safer. We all want that. Take control of your fleet, improve your safety scores, make drivers happy. KONEXIAL.com, KONEXIAL.com. And now, without further ado, let's get back to the action on our TLD Logistics phone lines. Light them up at 865-200-5402. It's Garza Law Extra Innings. And here's the superstar, Will Heflin.
We're back with you on Garza Law Extra Innings. Matt, you and I were just talking off air a little bit about the, we'll call it, would have been pitching change from Tony Vitello. And I said I made a tweet about this because I was annoyed and frustrated. And it was also like the half inning after they said Levy Clark. And I didn't know who the heck Levy Clark is. Tennessee has a guy named Levi Clark. But give me what you saw from Tony Vitello coming out of the dugout, being told he can't make a mound visit, which you and I agreed he was probably making a pitching change like he does 99.999% of the time he comes out there. Now, I was told by Camden Sewell that he won an argument one time, and it ended up being a Tony Vitello mound visit, not a pitching change. So, with that one caveat, if Tony Vitello comes out of the dugout, it's pitching change. So what did you see there? And I read Jay Johnson's lips after that happened, because he kind of saw it play out. He was already on the field like he was all weekend, but he basically said he did it on bleeping purpose. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I think there's probably some gamesmanship because Vitello's reaction to just immediately turn around and walk back to the dugout was really strange for him. But no, he was going to make a pitching change, and I don't know if they had already had Snead up or if they had Loy up. because it was like in the middle of a at bat. But I just thought that was a really weird deal that the umpires probably made too big of a deal about. I mean, they like went to Birmingham for some clarification on it when I'm not quite sure. There's a weird rule about how you can make a mound visit when the other team calls timeout and it doesn't count. But I don't know if that was a part of that equation. But either way, Vitello was going to make a pitching change and wound up not doing it because he was told he couldn't or whatever it is. So I just thought the umpires that they announce all these challenges. I don't know why they wouldn't have at least announced something there to give everybody clarification on what was going on, because that was a really strange deal that I don't really affected much. But like you said, Vitello was going to make a pitching change and they wouldn't let him, which doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think they would have let him had he said, no, I'm changing. But it was mid-count, and I think it was Loy he was going to bring in to finish him off because Franklin had, it was either Jake Brown or one of those lefties had him 1-2. And after the offensive timeout, I think Tony, just to kind of be a smart aleck, was going to make the change. But it reminds me of, you remember when Sully did it in Omaha and he wasn't wanting to make a visit? Or he wasn't wanting to change, but he was out of visits. And so when he went out there, they said, no, you have to change pitchers. And he did not want to. So it wasn't one of those situations. And the broadcast team, God bless their soul, they didn't know. They assumed that Tony was just trying to make a mound visit. And so they kind of put their foot in their mouth there, but maybe I was a little harsh on them. But that was a funny moment, but I think it would help, the majority of people watching if they would have announced and kind of explain what they were talking about from their side of it. Because you're right. The reason they're going to Birmingham is to figure out, hey, can we let this guy essentially make a visit? But because Tony just turned around and was like, yeah, sure, whatever, I don't think they ever really even asked him. I think he just went back to the dugout and kind of got his popcorn. But let's get back to the phones. Garza Law, Extra Innings, you're on the air.
Hey, Will, Z-Man, how are you, buddy?
Z-Man, I'm doing better than I deserve. How are you?
Good. I haven't talked to you, and I appreciate all your hard work on this baseball post-game show because it's something that we've needed for a while to talk about these things. I don't think that I'm still trying to wrap my mind around Friday in the ninth inning, and I wanted to get your take on that. Do you, with Snead's pitch count climbing into the 50s, with that 5-minute break, whatever it was, with baseball coming in from the student section, all of that stuff, during all of that, knowing that he's already been hit twice hard and they've got quite a bit of momentum, do you not think that we get an arm ready there, or do you believe Tony made the right decision? Basically, we're just going to ride him out, and if they beat us, they beat us.
Yeah, at that point, it's Snead's game. It's Snead's game to win or lose.
Okay.
Unfortunate he lost, but that's Snead's game. Now, if you hadn't used Franklin, maybe, but Snead's your guy. So
you didn't really have an arm to get, and I think that's the thing for me, is that it just appears that there's not as many guys this year that the coaching staff trusts to close out the game. And one thing that I think is missing, and I don't think people realize how valuable he was last year on this team because it was just kind of overlooked, but we miss Xander Seacrest. Extremely valuable player that just found a way to get you a win on Sunday. And right now we're struggling to find that. And so I think that we have to be realistic with, we have a lot of talent. We have more games coming up that we can win. But I also think that we have to be realistic that there's only really been 3 position players that have been consistent most of the season. Everything else has been interchanging, and we didn't have that in 2024. We didn't have that really in 2023, and especially not in 2022. And so I think to just say, well, we've got this many games left, and as we win 5 out of 4, but we're just now really getting a consistent lineup, it feels, and I'm not sure we even have that yet all across the board. It seems like that we started to find that with Bargo at third and some other things, but with Keelan's injury, it's just really, I think, put these coaches in a place to really earn their money, and I think they've done the best job that they can. And I think there's also a problem when you have so much talent that you can plug so many guys in there that now you start second guessing yourself on who you plug in where. And so I think people should just be patient, and hopefully we can sort of get this lineup figured out. But until we do that, I think it's going to be hard to really feel like that you're making a ton of progress fielding the ball and all of these things. Like some callers have said, we're lacking fundamentals and all that stuff. Well, when you're playing with a different player beside you, every other game, it's kind of hard to build some continuity out there.
Well, I will say Keelan looks healthy. I mean, he stole a base this weekend and looked plenty, spry running around second base, and so that'll help a ton. They'll settle in on something there. But you got to remember last year the DH role was a revolving door all the way through the thing. Sometimes it was Bargo. Bargo got inserted in Game 3 against Evansville and hit 2 homers. He didn't play in Game 1 or 2, or if he did, it was a pinch hit. Reese Chapman could not solidify. He got several opportunities, but it was tough for him to get consistent at bats. And then he had the big homer against North Carolina on the day that he got to start. And even Colby Backus was getting starts at DH at some point during the SEC season. So, I would challenge you in that it's easy to look back because we know the mountaintop that they reached, but try to think back to some of the struggles from last year, because it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows with the bullpen. They didn't always feel like they knew who to turn to late in the game. They didn't always know what to do with that 6, 7, 8 in the order, or maybe more so just like 7, 8. But what do you think? Do you think Keelan being healthy and them getting a couple weeks to kind of solidify something is the fix, or is there something else?
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's what we needed. I think Keelan was a big part of the glue for this team that would have helped this team really hit its stride by this time. And I'm not talking about the DH role. The DH role, since Tony's been here, usually is a way for Tony to reward players that are hitting the ball well and sort of move them around. I'm just talking about you've had different second basemen, different shortstops trying to figure it out. Third base has been sort of between Curley and Bargo and Marin and all that. And so what I'm saying is that by this time last year, you had a solidified infield, and you always had a solidified outfield. You knew that you were going to get the same guys in 2022, 2023, and 2024, but we're still trying to figure out who our left fielder is. And I think that just some of that, it's hard to build continuity. And I think by this time last year, you knew who was closing out games for you. I know you had like problems and different things in the series. And then the other thing that I think that people don't realize is that we have been so dominant that if you show any weakness right now, every team in the SEC doesn't want to beat us. They want to embarrass us. I think we swept Auburn last year, didn't we, down at Auburn?
Yeah, we
Or-
beat them like a drum.
Yeah, and that was when
That was a tough year for
Cal
Auburn.
Stark
A
hit
lot
the
of people
ball.
swept them, but they are
Yeah,
they
and
are
so they're definitely going to be coming here
they're more than
looking to.
capable this year. Matt,
And,
Have you seen the documentary on Hunter?
I have not. I've been meaning to watch it, and I've kind of forgotten about it until you just mentioned it. But no, I have not.
Well, go watch it because it's a good reminder that he didn't have that thing solidified in center field until about the Florida series, which feels like surprising.
No, he got off to a really, really rough start last year.
He
I mean,
did.
I think he was hitting leadoff the first weekend in that tournament, and he might have gotten one hit. So, no, it's a good point. I mean, guys are going to go up and down. The freshmen are kind of going through it. I do think you need Levi Clark to hopefully have a reemergence here at some point. But no, it's good points, and getting Keelan back matters. From your experience, how's the coaching staff handling Dean Curley? Because it's obviously just so mental at this point, and they did the right thing by taking him off the field the last two games. Like, how do they handle him? Like, what do they say things to him? Like, how do you think they're going to approach that? Because you need him both in the field and you need his bat too. You can't have the guy go into a total tailspin here down the stretch.
Yeah, I don't know him personally enough to say how they should deal with him because me personally, if I was struggling, I preferred kind of some choice words or more old school approach, if you will. And Dean may be the same way, but he may be a guy that needs encouragement, or he needs a reset, or maybe he needs a long early work type day where he is just out there one on one with Kivett, or maybe he's out there with V and they're just working through the demons. I don't know. I don't know what he needs, but at the end of the day, he helped you win a national championship. So he's your guy, right? You said it. You need him, but he had to get a break from the field after Friday. And I'm glad they kept him in the lineup, and he actually had a couple of hits today. But that's for them to decide. But
No, I didn't want to put you on the spot. I
no,
just
you're
didn't know
good.
if you knew how they would approach it.
I
But
just
no,
don't know
it's
him
fair
well enough.
not knowing the personality. Because, like, I personally, because he was really bad yesterday too. I thought it would have been better off to just take him out to give him the day off today. But that was clearly not right because he, ropes that long single to lead off the game and had another hit later.
I know what's weird for Curly. Not weird, but it's hard to read him because he is so stoic. Good, bad, in between. And this is what'll help him in his baseball career when he gets into professional baseball. But it's hard to read him because he just always looks the same, which is kind of that's a positive. But also, when things are going really bad, like he's feeling it more than anybody. But he keeps that face on straight. Let me go back to the alpha discussion real quick because then we'll get back to the phones. My mom is a ball knower, Matt. She was a pitcher in high school softball. Okay, watched a lot of ball in her day, and she's listening to the show and texts me. Says my text in comment: the spark plug or the alpha, whatever you want to call it, in my opinion, should be a different kid each game. That's what makes a great team. It can be Ariel one day, like Saturday, or it can be Hunter the next, etc., etc. And I read that and I immediately thought Dylan Dreiling was the spark plug some days. Some days it was Kavaris. Some days, a lot of days, it was Simo. A lot of days it was, the guy right behind him and Blake Burke. And I was like, man, excuse me, got horrible allergies. I've been stopped up all weekend. I got thinking, like, we're sitting here it's a game of collective individuals, but man, what made the team great last year is you never knew who it was going to be. And this team has shown those signs, right? Like some days it's been Inslee, some days Keelan's carried the load, Bargo has carried the load, Fisher, you go down the line. Lately, it's been Peebles has kind of been the guy to give you the big swing, and I just really hope that he's more, what he's always been right now, and we just see that batting average continue to climb up because his at bats have gotten better and better. I don't think he had a hit today, but you just see a lot more barrels out of Peebles. But I thought that was pretty smart from old Mama Hef. I mean, we're sitting here trying to think who's going to take over the thing. Well, it's like they only get to hit 1 out of every 9 times, anyways. Like you need everybody to be a spark plug.
Yeah, it's a really good thought. Yeah, you need different, and that's kind of been the beauty in this era is so many different guys have stepped up in clutch moments. Whether it's easy when Asimo or Gilbert launch one into the stratosphere in a big spot, but Cal Stark's been clutch at times. Hunter Inslee was so clutch at Omaha that Dowling and Tiers had the back-to-back home runs against Vandy in 23 as freshmen that jump-started that turnaround. Like, it's always been the whole lineup. It's a really good point that you made.
Let's go back to the phones, Matt.
I'm
not laughing at you. I'm laughing at
with you.
I'm
Get
laughing.
me off here.
She would crush it. She'd put us both under the rug. Garza Law, you're on the air.
Hey, how's it going, Will?
I'm good. Who am I speaking with?
This is Jason in Las Vegas.
In Vegas, Jason? How are you, man? Can you
Yes,
get a
sir.
can you get a Oh shoot. I'm not a casino guy. I was going to try to make a joke. Never mind.
No, you don't have to be. It's
But
okay.
put a chip on one of the roulette numbers for me. I'm just
Well, I
kidding.
live here, so I don't gamble. So I've already played that thing. I learned real quick. But I'm originally from. I grew up in Powell and Crossville. So.
There you go. Pal's a great
But
spot.
I was at the national championship last year in Omaha, and my Lord, it was almost. I was there when we beat Bama, and I helped throw the goalpost in the river. But that it's amazing how a national championship in one sport and then beating Alabama can be just so similar. But I mean, I've been a Tennessee baseball fan like all my life. I remember when there were more people on the team than there were in the stands. I mean, we're talking Raleigh and and Serrano, and Raleigh. He doesn't get enough. We'll leave that alone. He's the Butch. He's not as bad as Butch with the personality, but he really brought the program down. But Serrano was the pitching coach,
he
did what he
Butch
tried to
look like
do. So
Saint.
But hey, I wanted to talk about the positives. Is you have Antigua, and I'm telling you what, the development of this kid, and I don't know if it's Coach E or who it is, to get him to be hitting now the way that he is hitting and the way he fields, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I don't know, other than Ortega, a better infielder than Antigua, and they're both from the same area.
Ortega. Jarrell Ortega might be the most underrated guy. What a season that man had.
Yeah.
Put some dang respect on Joey Ortega. We made fun of him. Excuse me. We made fun of him because he's from South Florida, like you said, but we would just tell him, you're Joey from Jacksonville. You don't even have Hispanic heritage. I just completely lost my voice, but man, I appreciate the call a ton. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. What took you to Vegas?
Well, I've dabbled in stand-up over the years, but kind of had run-ins with other comedians because I had this condition called patriotism. And I was in the military. I was in the 278. And, I'm kind of one of those guys, man. I did play-by-play for Meigs County high school football for 1 year. I'm out here now. Me and my buddy are we're writing a TV show that we're hoping to get launched. And about a family from Tennessee. We're writing a pilot right now on that. So if you can imagine it, I've done it. And I guess God just brought me to Vegas. So it is what it is, I guess you could say.
Awesome. Well, man. I think I may have dropped him real quick, but we appreciate your service and the call, Matt. Butch Jones is a saint compared to Todd Raleigh.
Yeah.
I don't want to dig in any further than that, but Butch Jones, I mean, by all accounts, pretty good dude. I don't know him, but so I just found out that the phone lines have an order, and I've just been completely willy-nilly, like whichever button looks good to me, I just bring them on. So if you've been waiting, and you're like,
Tony
man,
does that too, so
man,
don't worry about it.
Will skips over me all the time. I didn't know I was skipping anyone, so I do sincerely apologize. But let's get back to it. Garza Law, you're on the air.
Hey, Will, this is Jerry from Georgia.
Jerry from Georgia. We're going from Vegas to Georgia. Are you north, south Georgia, Athens, Atlanta? Where are we at?
I'm actually in Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. It's
okay.
Technically Atlanta.
Yeah. Okay. You're north of Atlanta, though, aren't you?
I think so.
Okay.
Close to Chattanooga.
Nice. What's on your mind?
So, originally, I was going to talk about the Tennessee LSU series, which was god-awful. But, you know what? These calls have made me feel a little bit better. So
we're in the same boat.
Yeah. So, I'm going to go over what you need to do against... Is it Auburn they're playing next?
Yeah.
All right, just making sure. Well, first off, don't do anything stupid. That's step number one.
Yep, always. Start there. Tony B.
I used to play baseball. Still do.
What was the stupidest thing you ever did playing baseball? I did some pretty stupid stuff. Like one time I threw a curveball right over the middle of the plate to Heston Kjerstad, and I never saw it again, Matt Dixon.
Oh, God.
Wow.
He played at Arkansas. He was the number 2 overall pick to the Orioles a couple years back. Really good.
Yeah, he's in the big leagues.
Yeah, really good hitter. But go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. One thing I've done stupid, like, my dad threw a ball to me, like, way over, and I swung at it. Like, it went way over me. And I was, like, so embarrassed.
You can't be doing that. Gotta swing at strikes, you know? That's something Tennessee needs to do next week against Auburn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What else? What's your... Have you watched Auburn any? Because they're coming off a really tough series against Mississippi State. They won 2. They played Texas tooth and nail a couple weeks ago. I mean, Auburn's a good baseball team, and Butch Thompson is the most underrated head coach in the league. I don't think that's up for debate. But what does Tennessee need to do to win that series?
Well, one thing they got to do, I mean, you got to hit the ball on time. You have to hit the ball on time. That's one thing you got to do. It's very important.
No doubt. Man, I appreciate the call. Kind of right on cue. We're going to take another quick break. You always kind of throw me off when you reach over me. I lose my thought, but I'll get better at it. I apologize. Matt. We're gonna take one last break, and then we're gonna come back and preview Auburn, and then we're gonna get out of here. I don't know why I feel so good. These callers have made me feel good. I came here, Tony will tell you, in a absolutely horrible mood. Horrible mood. I was like, I'm just gonna wear my hoodie over there, do this for 20 minutes, and hopefully he'll tell me I can leave. But second wind is what they call it. We'll be right back. Garza Law. We're gonna preview Auburn.
We'll get you back to Garza Law
I said
extra
Garza
innings
Law.
momentarily. I do want to remind you, portions presented by our friends at Performance Medicine. Take control of your wellness, personalized health solutions that fit your lifestyle. You will be so glad that you got out of the rat race and the way you understand healthcare right now, because that's exactly what Dr. Rogers did several years ago. Comprehensive proactive solutions empowering you to achieve optimal health on your term. If you're tired of feeling drained of energy, you're struggling with your weight goals, maybe you dream of radiant skin, maybe you're hoping to start a family, say goodbye to cookie cutter healthcare. PerformanceMedicine.net for more. Check out their YouTube channel at Performance Medicine. Also presented by our friends, my friends and your friends at Alumni Hall. Listen up, baseball fans. Step up to the plate. New gear from Alumni Hall. Don't you dare swing and miss by shopping elsewhere. Alumni Hall absolutely has you covered. You can shop in their 3 Knoxville locations where you'll see the best selection, the top brands for you to choose from all season long. They also have a shop in Bristol, one in Murfreesboro, and for you listening to us around the world, they're online anywhere in the world and available to you at alumnihall.com. The ultimate Tennessee shopping destination is Alumni Hall. And a special shout out to our friends at Dos Equis. Celebrate another successful Tennessee baseball run all season long by going for Dos, Tony Vols. I'm talking about Dos Equis. Lager Especial, a golden Pilsner stout made from the choice of hops, balanced composition, smooth, clean finish. Party guest always invited, never overstays his welcome. Nuanced blend of malts and earth tones, flavorful yet light tasting and smooth. Balanced composition, clean finish. That, my friends, is Dos Equis Cervezas Mexicanas 2025, White Plains, New York. Now let's burn up those TLD Logistics phone lines and get you back to the superstar. I'm talking about the host with the most. I'm talking about superstar Will Heflin. It's Garza Law, extra innings.
Hey, Matt, I didn't know it was almost 8 o'clock, man. Kind of got lost in the sauce, as Tony has said a couple times. But tell me, and you may not have watched Auburn a ton, but it's a classic Butch Thompson team. They've got some thumpers. They've got lefties in the bullpen. I think Fisher is going on Saturdays for them, the transfer from Florida. And then Dutton, their Friday guy, came in from somewhere, and they didn't think he was going to be
LSU.
Okay, well, they didn't think he was going to be like the dude, and he has completely just been a bulldog for them. You know who he reminds me of is Hunter Martin for Tennessee a couple years ago. You know how good of a year that guy had, and he could never get a win because we couldn't score any runs?
It's a nice pull there. Yeah, that's good.
But,
yeah,
he throws a little bit harder than Hunter did. But Hunter, man, I mean, he was just, you could pencil in 7-8 innings, and it wasn't going to blow you away. Dutton's going to be 90, 92. But he's got a good breaking ball, and he throws his changeup, and he spots. And that's what Hunter Martin did. So it's kind of going to be more of that. I would say they're like a mix between... They'll look like the Kentucky pitching staff, but they'll look a lot more like the LSU or the Bama offense. Like they've got some guys who can run. Don't get me wrong, but they're going to bang it around the yard if they're playing well.
Yeah, no, it's a really solid club, a good lineup. Don't have many guys back from last year, which is a good thing for them. But I think
No
Butch Thompson's a pitching coach. and they've got a really good staff. I'm glad you mentioned that he's one of the more underrated coaches because every year when I watch Auburn here, like the back half of the league schedule, besides last year, I always think this team's a whole lot better than their record is, they're just always a really solid team, and they play Tennessee pretty tough every year. But Ike Irish is kind of the star power guy. Cooper McMurray's been there forever. They got 2 or 3 freshmen in their lineup who don't look like freshmen and are really, really talented players. But it's going to be a probably some more lower scoring games, unless it turns into a home run derby there in Lindsey Nelson. But really solid pitching, a ton of lefties. I think lefties have the worst batting average against them in the league, which can be something that we can note and kind of watch for. But no, it's a solid team. But you got to take 2 out of 3. Got to get back on the winning ways at home. Which we've not talked about this a ton, but I do think the atmosphere in Lindsey Nelson hasn't been as over the top as it has been in the past. It's not that hornet's nest that we kind of called it, and I do think moving the students way down the right field line has really hurt the home environment some, and might be one of the reasons the team I think plays better on the road when they can get their juices going and they're getting yelled at more often. Whereas it does seem to be a more tame Lindsey Nelson this year, which I think is helping opponents out.
I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, my thing on Auburn is like when I believe they went to Omaha twice when I was in school, and they were always just kind of like in that 10 to 20 range in the rankings. So they weren't going to be a top 8 seed, but they'd host their regional, they'd win, and then they'd go beat somebody in the supers from another conference. And it's like, oh, Auburn's in Omaha again. And they never really made a run at it, but they were always so good. I know they had Casey Mize, but they were never going to be the most talked about team. But he's had them very competitive for a while there. That's why I think he's underrated. And especially, back in the division days, like being good in the West. I know Plainsman Park is nice, but that used to kind of be the place to be in terms of stadium, and now it's not even in the top 5 over there if you're talking about the old West schools. So for him to be competitive there like he has is pretty impressive, and I just like his demeanor. Like he's a low heartbeat, hanging out guy, and I've always liked how he lets his catchers and pitchers call their own game. Like they do that. Like he doesn't call pitches, nor does the pitching coach. They always have their catcher and do that.
Did you and cool. Pavoloni ever do that, or has Frank ever let his catchers do that?
I don't know that Frank ever didn't call pitches, but I mean I shook him a lot. Not a lot. When all of my good outings, there was such a rhythm with Frank. Like if I was thinking let's surprise him with a fastball, he was calling it. If I was already pre-gripping changeup because I knew I was throwing a changeup, he would call changeup. And so there was very few times where we were off the same page. But I don't know if Pavoloni was ready at that point in his career to call the game either. So I'd have been shaking a lot more if it was coming directly from him. Plus, we didn't have PitchCom in those days. I love Connor Pavoloni, by the way. I'm just giving him a hard time. He was phenomenal defensively, and he did his homework. He would have been fine calling the games. But I mean, Frank is a wizard at that. I think Thompson, that's just kind of his belief, is that if his pitchers know that it's their game, it's kind of on their shoulders, that they'll have more conviction behind each pitch. And I don't think that's a wrong argument. But I also think a guy who gets paid, multiple 6 figures, if not 7, to coach the team may have done a little bit more homework on the matchups or, has seen a game or two in his life. So I see both sides of it. I think if you've got a really veteran catcher who's good at it and he knows the pitchers and the pitchers want to call their own game, let him do it. But otherwise, earn that paycheck, Mr. Anderson. Yeah.
I was just curious because I know Pavlone was really good behind the plate. If you guys had any leeway, because I actually think it's a total sidebar, but I actually think that's why quarterbacks struggle so much, like overall, because they don't read defenses anymore. They don't make their own audibles at the line. They're always looking to the sidelines for the play, and that's one of the reasons I don't think quarterbacks have developed over the last 10 or 15 years as well as they probably should. Total sidebar again.
Well, you've got Tony's shaking his head at how unbelievable of a point that is. Yeah. I mean, it's systems now, and they've got communication in their helmet, and so the biggest. I mean, we could be here another 2 hours getting into this, but the biggest learning curve for these college guys going to NFL is the pre-snap stuff at the line of scrimmage. Checking out of stuff and getting into the right looks, or maybe they got a hot route on one side, they get a certain look, safety came down, or maybe he's bluffing, all that stuff that makes Brady and Rodgers what they were. Those are the first two guys that come to mind. There's other guys that do that. Mahomes is advanced in that sort of stuff, but it's kind of similar to baseball in some pitchers you see now are showcase pitchers. I think you said this. It's kind of similar. These quarterbacks, they look unbelievable 7-on-7. They can throw it a mile. But, when you get in a game, there's a whole lot more to it. It's kind of like pitching. The velo's good, but when you get in a game, you need all that other good stuff. You put them together, and then you get people like Liam Doyle. But, Matt, I'm going to let you run. I'm about to run. Garza Law Extra Innings. This is the fourth edition. I don't know. I'm already delirious. It was a wild series. Sucks that Tennessee came out losing it. But when you go on the road in the SEC, if you didn't get swept, you can survive. And Tennessee did not get swept. Got a really solid victory on Saturday. Got a big series with Auburn coming up. And we'll be right back here with you. One last thing. VIP Play, who I work for, that is coming up very soon. Should be launched. And what is today? The 27th. So probably 10, 11 days. May 7th is what we're looking at. That's going to be good. DM me or text me if you want some more information on that. I'm sure Tony will drag me in here at some point this week and make me read off an ad. But I love doing it. And thanks for everybody for calling in, for listening. This team's going to be good. Last thing I'll leave you with, I know it's easy to get on here and say, I believe in Tony Vitello and the team will be fine, and baseball's just a weird game. It's not okay that they lost. It stinks. But I'm not just saying this because I played for the guy. I've seen it the last few years when I haven't been in the dugout. They figure out a way to click when you need them to. So you can throw whatever ceiling you want to put on them in the trash. I don't care. I don't want to listen to it. Well, I do want to listen to it, but if your ceiling is anything lower than Omaha and the last series of the season, it's wrong. Does that mean they're going to reach there, Tony B? No, but they can, and the only way we'll find out is when we all find out together. Happy Sunday. Have a good night. Garza Law, this is Extra Innings. Sunday, April 27th. Tennessee just finished a 3-game series with Louisiana State in Baton Rouge, the Tigers. Extra Innings is presented by the Garza Law Firm, online at garzalaw.com. Call in 865-200-5402. I'm sure there's plenty to talk about today. That's the TLD Logistics Hotline. We're live after every SEC series finale. Spread the word. Second time in the last 2 weeks. We've